So there's one way to create a multiple view application without writing a lot of code yourself. Begin with one of the templates that app will provide. In this case, one for a utility application. I'm going to create a new project in Xcode. It's going to be a utility application. And I'll call this one Utility and click Save. Now, one of the first things to notice if I expand this is when I look at my resources folder, I actually have 3 XIB files, 3 nib files instead of the usual 2. Now, if you've been wondering about this, we typically don't use main window, or certainly haven't been using main window up until this point. Main window is the one window that exists for an iPhone application. It's really invisible is the best way to put it. It is kind of transparent, and all it takes care of is loading in typically our main view controller. Now, in our case, the 2 things that we're interested in are mainview.xib and flipsideview.xib. If I open up mainview.xib, let's see what's been provided. Rearrange this a little bit. I can see I've got a fairly dark background here, but I do have a little button presented down at the bottom right. This is a regular button. There's nothing special about it. It's just had its type changed from the typical rounded rectangle to the info light button. And what we can see, knowing now what we know about buttons, is this hooked up to anything? We could do that by either right-clicking the button and saying, yes, indeed, it looks like this button's touch-up inside is linked to something called Show Info in the file's owner. Now, we can probably make a decent guess that then if our main view nib file is linked to file's owner, Show Info, that let's click back into Xcode and actually take a look at our main view, and we see that we've got a main view controller.m, and we can perhaps take a look in here and say, do we have a show info method? And if I click down my little browser of methods, I can see that yes, indeed, we do have a show info button. So what's going to happen when this one is executed? Well, we're going to create an instance of Flipside View Controller, and that's going to be initialized. Let me break this up so we can read this line. It's allocated and initialized with a nib name, and this is the way that it's actually loading in that flipsideview.xib. Then what's happening on line 51 is we're saying, well, this new instance of this new view controller we've created, we're setting a delegate to self. That might sound a little weird. What we're actually saying is in the main view, we're creating an instance of the flipside view and telling it, by the way, your delegate is me. Your delegate is the main view. And we'll see why that's important in just a minute. Then line 53, we say the controller modal transition style is UI modal transition style flip horizontal. We might make a guess that that's what's going to do that horizontal flip for us. That is indeed it. And then we're going to say self present modal view controller, passing it that new controller, and animated yes. That is what is going to flip this new view controller in and make the flipside view the boss. Well, what is the flipside view? Well, let's take a look at that too. Going back to my resources folder, I click on flipsideview.xib, and I'm seeing that kind of reverse view. It's a completely different nib file. We could drag on lots of elements onto this page, play around with it, write our own code to react to those elements and those pickers, whatever we wanted to do. But I can also see here that there seems to be some elements on the page. If I right-click Files Owner, I might see a couple of different hookups there. That I can see that, yes, there is a received action for the bar button item. That's the blue one up here, which again, I could have also right-clicked. That appears to be calling a method called done in the flipside view files owner. Well, let's go and try and find out what that done method will do. So I'm going to open up the flipside view. They've actually gathered all their classes together into different folders here, and look at the view controller here. If I'm looking at the header files, I'm seeing some interesting stuff there. The first time we've seen this, I've got line 9 is saying at protocol flipside view controller delegate. And we've got some strange stuff. Well, what does this mean? Well, we've been acting as a delegate for other objects. We've been being given work to do. This is actually the way that your own classes can describe themselves as being delegating objects, meaning they're in charge of something. And this might sound a little strange. Think about it this way. What's actually happening is the main view is telling the flipside view, by the way, I can do some work for you when you're ready. What that actually means is on the flipside view, when we press the done button, the flipside view is not going to take care of dismissing itself away. what it's going to do is delegate that job back to the main view, and the main view will take care of it. This is merely the way that it's been declared. And again, at this point, we haven't done much with protocols. You might be thinking this is way too complex, but the benefit is we don't have to do it. It's already created for us. We just have to start to build on top of it. So it does seem to declare a method called done. It's on line 17. And if I take a little look at that, what does the done method do? There we go. Line 23 is what is called with that button click, and it's saying self.delegate flipside view controller did finish passing in self. Well, what does that mean? Well, effectively, we are issuing a call to the delegate, and we're announcing, hey, if there's anybody out there who's going to take care of this, now's a really good time. And effectively what's going to happen is back over in our main view controller, if I take a look at that, let me take a look at the header file. Notice that the header file of the main view controller on line 11 says that I'm going to implement flipside view controller delegate. I'm going to volunteer to be a delegate for the flipside view controller. So when it issues that command, I'm going to do it. Well, what is it going to do? If I come back over and take a little look here, on line 41, here's the method that actually gets called. Flipside view controller did finish is passing basically a copy of itself in there. And what we're now saying is, yes, the main view controller will take care of dismissing that away. Now, this is not the only way it could have been done. But what we're really setting up here is that the main view controller is in charge of both animating the flip side to go to the flip side and animating it back out again. And we're kind of staying in charge, and we're staying actually in control in the whole time. And the way we're doing that is through delegation. Again, this might look a little strange, but what you can do is start to build on top of this. This is what's created for you with a utility application in Xcode.